hope the color is better than it looks like here. Is it showing anything yet? It's showing that I'm streaming. Okay. Awesome. Hello, this is Angela Anderson. Thank you for joining me today. We're going to be doing a cherry blossom tree in kind of an impressionist style. This is part of a special collaboration with the Creative Arts Collaboration. We are a Facebook group. We are a group of artists who all do YouTube videos. And this month's challenge was to do the Pantone colors of the year, which are rose quartz and serenity, which are like a kind of a corally pink, very soft pink, and a violet blue. So kind of my nail color here.
Those are some cute nails.
Thanks. I know I finally found a nail polish that actually stays on my nails, so I'm hopefully gonna have pretty nails from now on. We'll see. We'll see how it works. But anyhow, so let me get started here. My color palette is listed in the description if you haven't found it already, but there's 3 colors here that are colors you can mix. Does it look dark to you, Carolyn? It looks really dark. Not sure why that's happening. Anyhow, this color is called Light Ultramarine Blue. This is kind of serenity. It's also called Blue Violet in the Liquitex brand. This one is Light Magenta, which you can mix with like a Quinacridone Magenta, plus maybe a little bit of yellow. So, but I'm going to use these straight out of the bottle. If you don't have them, you can mix them yourself. And then this color is sort of the phthalo blue with a little bit of yellow, or mostly yellow with just a tiny bit of phthalo, actually. So let me get started. The background is going to be, I've got an 11 by 14 inch canvas here. How is the sound doing? Good? All right. We're going to get going here then. I've got my spray bottle. I'm spraying down my canvas a little bit. And I'm going to grab a 1-inch brush and just start laying in my background. And mostly it's going to be this blue, the light ultramarine blue. I'm going to lay it on fairly thickly and just quick like cross-hatching motion, just trying to get it worked into my canvas. And then along the edges I'm going to add some darker ultramarine, maybe a touch of the Quinacridone Magenta. Ooh, I said it right that time. And just do a little bit darker along those edges. That water on the canvas just helps the colors to move around a little bit. These canvases can be pretty stiff when you get them straight out of the package, so the water just kind of helps the paint absorb a little bit easier, especially if you're doing these blending techniques. It works better. Oh, I forgot to mention I've got my friend Carolyn Gore here. Carolyn, say hi.
Hi guys, good to see you back.
I know this is the first live show we've done since Christmas. We did a cookie decorating video at Christmas time, and then I took, really it turned out to be 3 weeks off for the holidays. It was great. So I'm just laying in that darker color along my edges. While that blue is still wet, I'm just kind of working them back and forth to get those up. And it's okay, I'm leaving kind of brush strokes showing. That's kind of what I'm wanting for this technique. I think we've got a lot of our Sherpettes watching today. Cinnamon Cooney and myself are both do acrylic painting lessons, and we met through the CAC. Actually, she contacted me first, and anyhow, we've become fast friends, and we both were realized we were both going to do a cherry blossom theme for our Pantone event, and so we decided to go ahead and kind of combined our little audiences and do a little mini collaboration. We've got a group on Facebook called, I'm adding a little bit of white now. Cinnamon and I have a group on Facebook called the Angeluni Winter, well, Angeluni Paint-In. It was the Winter Paint-In when we did our first one. We did a back-to-back live shows, and it was so much fun. We've decided to just continue to do more throughout the year. So in February, we're doing our next big event. We're going to be both painting kind of Valentine's romance-themed paintings in this sort of, I'm doing Klimt the Kiss, and she is doing, I'm going to butcher this name because I can't say French, but La Dame Sans Merci, the Girl Without Mercy, I think, something like that. Anyhow, it's a Dickacy painting. It's very classical, romantic, night with a maiden on a horse. So anyhow, so I'm getting down toward the bottom here. I'm not going to do a formal foreground for this one. I kind of wanted to keep it loose. So now I'm going to switch over to only white, and I'm keeping my foreground pretty low here. And I'm going to really lay on a bunch of white right here on my horizon line. And that's kind of a little trick that you can use. It's sort of an instant distance on your horizon. If you do white or light colors in your horizon line, you'll get the instant look of distance. Whoop, didn't want that. Working my way down here. I'm just working fairly fast, and I'm gonna sort of put in a few little choppy white strokes in that edge here just to kind of blend them in back up into my blue there. And I'm just kind of using all edges of my brush. I'm kind of turning it, so sometimes I'm pushing it straight down like that, and sometimes I'm doing it flat. Just kind of keep turning it back and forth, rotate it, and rotate your wrist back and forth. And you'll get some interesting, you kind of come up with your own style for doing this. I'm sure the more you do it, your own kind of natural way of holding the brush. It doesn't have to look like mine. This is kind of the fun thing about Impressionist painting, is it's sort of loose and it's all kind of takes on your own style. So I think that looks good. Maybe a little bit more white in this area.
Jason says he sees a lot in wrist movement. Says he tends to be stiffer when he paints. Should he try to incorporate more movement?
Well, for this style of painting, I would say yes. The more you move your wrist and rotate it, the looser your brush strokes will be, and the more random they'll be. If you kind of keep it real stiff like this and kind of do them all the same, they'll end up being sort of all in the same direction if you don't kind of rotate your brush and your wrist.
What brush are you using?
This is a Master's Touch Bright. It's a number 8 Bright, and it is a little bit stiff. It's like, I think it's a nylon, so it's probably similar to that one that Cinnamon was talking about, that Robert Simmons Simmons brush that she was reviewing earlier. But they're real cheap. They're like, and I go through these all the time. Like, I probably have 12 of them. And it's just one of those things where when I find a brush that I really like, I buy them in bulk and keep them around. And so they're all in varying degrees of decay. Some of them I've beat down to nubs. My nub brushes are not close by. They're kind of they're in my beginner art. I save them for my beginner students. So once they graduate from my abuse, they go to my students. So they have a lot of longevity. But I find that they're really good because they can make a straight line, or they're very versatile. I'm all about kind of finding brushes that I can do a lot of things with. I don't like to have to switch out and clean out my brushes a lot. So this is one of those that's kind of my must-have brushes. I've done whole murals with this brush, just about, because even the little fine details, you can get very small dots just by using the corner of it. Okay, so now I'm down to the bottom here, and I'm gonna go ahead and clean it out. And now I'm gonna pick up this green color here, and I decided to go ahead and put a green in. I was debating whether I was gonna do only the Pantone colors, the blue and pink, but I decided for this I kind of really wanted a little bit of green, and it's actually their I think it's called a tertiary color palette, because they're like a triangle on the, if you could look at a color wheel, they're almost exactly diagonal from one another. So tertiary, I think let me look and see if I can find my color wheel here. So put that down.
I think you've got an A+ today on your nails.
Oh, did I? Good. Everybody likes the nails.
Cinnamon says to tell you that your nails look great.
Awesome. So here's the yellow green, which is that color, and then here's that blue violet, and then the orange color here is very close to it's kind of right in between. This Serenity is sort of right in between. Or I'm sorry, Rose Quartz is right in between. The Serenity is more the blue violet. So it's actually kind of a, triad, it's called. So. Hi, Cinnamon. I'm glad she joined me. I was just telling them about Angeluni and our event coming up in February. So I'm excited about that. It's actually one of the next things that I'm going to be working on next week, is getting my example done for that Klimt The Kiss painting. Should be fun. It's very detailed, so I'm kind of thinking I'm going to narrow it down to a smaller version of itself, maybe, just to make it more manageable. Okay, so I've got the green on the bottom here, and I'm going to add some more white to it, coming up over that blue and just brushing it over the top just a little bit. Maybe not quite so. Whoa, got some green in there. Well, we'll make it work. I accidentally picked up my phthalo green there somehow, so I'm going to grab some yellow, and that'll tone that back down. That's actually not kind of a happy mistake, I think. A happy accident, is that what Bob Ross says? We'll make it work. All right, so my borderline here between the blue and the greens is still a little bit wet. So if you find that you've waited so long that these paints are drying, what might happen is that blue will start to lift. So if that's the case, just let it dry completely. Since these are still sort of damp, I can get away with blending back over. But sometimes you just have to be careful with acrylics, because they will lift on you if you mess with them when they're right at the verge of drying. Right when they're about to dry, they become super sticky, and they will cling to anything that they touch, which including your brush. So if you brush over them while they're in that little magic drying stage, they will lift right off your canvas. That's one of the most common things that I see my beginner painters. Look, I did it again. Okay, well, that color just wants to be in there, and that's actually okay, because I was going to put kind of a shadowy area under here, so we'll make it part of that's phthalo green. I'm going to blend back over it. I'm just using these kind of short, I'm going to slow it down, short little strokes back and forth, using kind of the corner of the brush sometimes, sometimes the flat edge, and sort of twisting as I go. Just keep it random. The main thing you want to avoid is just kind of any identifiable marks that are, the same in a row or something like that. You just kind of want to keep from doing that if possible. Okay, so I've got some good, I think that's good. We're going to leave it pretty basic. And this may be too bright. I'll have to see. I may add, in fact, I think I will add just a little bit of this yellow oxide just in this corners to tone down that vibrant green. It's just kind of wigging me out. It's a little bit bright.
The Sherpa had to leave.
Okay.
Storm.
Oh, wow. Hope they're okay.
Yeah.
They get weird weather in Texas, I'm telling you. We do too sometimes here in the South. You just never know what it's going to do. Okay, so I think that's good. I'm going to maybe bring that up just a little bit up here so it's like a vignette sort of. It's like sort of bowl shaped here. Okay, that looks good. All right, so that's pretty much it for our background. This color is quite vivid. I think I might tone it down just a little bit because I want a little bit more horizon line on here. So I'm going to go back in with a little bit of this white. We'll see here if it's dry enough to do this. I don't know. It's looking like it's, oh, see, I got water on my canvas right there. It lifted it right off. That's exactly what it'll do. Okay, I'm going to do that. Add a little bit of white back in. If that happens to you, I'll show you. Just kind of pick up your really thick paint and just go back over it and try not to mess with it. Just let it sit. And then you can always blend it out later if you need to, but that's an easy fix. Okay. Any questions, Carolyn?
No, not right now.
No? Okay. Is Mark still with us? He made an appearance earlier. My husband, Mark, is working today, so he wasn't able to join us, but he was commenting on chat earlier before the show. And I have a group on Facebook called The Thankful Art, and we all kind of share whatever artwork we're working on. And every time I post something, he will go in and post a stick man over the top of my painting. It's actually become pretty funny. I love it. That's about the extent of his artistic ability. So we may have a stickman video in the future. We'll see if I can talk him into doing it.
It'll be about a 5-minute video.
Right, yeah. Think he's going to do it pretty serious style, though, you know, like do the real artsy talk with it, you know. Get the perspective going and all that good stuff.
All the spoof.
Yeah. We'll see. So if you happen to see that around April 1st, you'll know what that's all about. Be in the know. Okay, I think that's better. I just kind of wanted it a little bit lighter right here. And I'm going to let that sit. Grab my dryer here. It's a little bit quieter. I got a brand new, it's actually a heating tool, but if I do it on low, it's not too loud. I'm going to just dry that real quick because I don't want it lifting on me when I put my tree.
Maybe we're talking about Stickman.
Stickman, I know. Stickman is pretty awesome. And Mark actually, he put Stickman up there and then he took it down because he was like, he didn't want anybody to be offended, you know, like to think that he was making fun of, you know, other people's art or something like that. But I was like, no, honey, I think everybody gets that you're joking. Zombie Stickman. He did the big eye Stickman. Here's my big eye girl. Her video is going to be this Saturday. Several of us have done the Disney princesses. There's 15 different people that are in this collaboration, and we all did it in the big eye style of Margaret Keane. So check that out on Saturday. It's going to be really awesome.
Recorded, not live.
No, it's recorded, yes. So except for my recording has given me trouble. So
Mark is here.
Mark is here. Oh, the sick man himself.
Yep.
Hi, honey. Okay, that's good. Whoop.
I put hi, honey bear. Mark.
He's a mess. Okay, so our basic cherry tree shape today is just going to be, it's kind of like the red tree. If you saw the red tree that I did, this is sort of a variation of that. His trunk is going to be a little bit more visible and a little bit thinner. But the basic shape is sort of a, I guess it's oval. If you look at that, maybe a little bit triangular, sort of. Very irregular around the outside. So don't get caught up in doing a big oval. Kind of leave some space for the branches to kind of move and in and out. The cherry trees are very kind of wispy and like that. So I think I'm going to do it nice and big though. Kind of try to fill up this whole canvas here. So I think let's do, sometimes I sketch, sometimes I don't. For this one, I kind of want to sketch just to get my bearings on how tall I want it. So I want it to kind of come up. I'm using just regular old chalk here. I like to use chalk so that you can erase it real easily. You probably won't be able to see it down here at the bottom, but use some red chalk. Got to be careful with the color chalk is the only thing, is sometimes it can kind of dye your canvas when you paint. It'll sort of, so if you're doing like white over the top of this chalk, it'll turn your paint pink. So it's not a problem for me because I'm painting a pink tree, but just be aware of that if you're doing this. I think I'm going to do like this. Have this come up like that. Okay, good enough. I'm going to switch to my number 4 round. And I'm going to wet it down. I'm going to pick up some burnt umber. This color may be a little bit dark, so I may probably go cut it with a little bit of this yellow oxide.
So what color mix is the Serenity?
Serenity was, actually I saw somebody who used alizarin crimson and got the Serenity, or I'm sorry, Serenity. Serenity is this one, I'm sorry. This one is Ultramarine Blue and white. And this is just a pre-mixed version of it. But right on the bottle here it says mixed from Ultramarine Blue and white. So it's just kind of a cheat color, just so you don't have to mix it while you're doing it. I use it for a lot of things though. It's a great shadow color, like for a light shadow, something that you want to look far away, but you don't want it to be too dark. That's a great color to use, and I use it a lot for all kinds of stuff. So I just buy the bottle. And then this one is you can use alizarin crimson and white, or you can mix it with the Quinacridone Magenta and a little bit, tiny bit of yellow. Because the rose quartz is just slightly coral. It's not kind of a true pink. Okay, so I'm going to just sort of vaguely outline this tree here. And one of the things that I didn't mention on my red tree, and I wish that I had, was that the bottom of your tree trunk here, it comes out a little bit, right? This tree, actually the cherry trees don't come out quite a bit as much as other trees, but the bottom here is going to be fairly straight across. So don't bring your, when you bring your tree trunk part down there, you know, maybe if you wanted to show roots or something, don't bring it way down here because it's not going to look right. It's going to look a little bit weird. So you want to keep it kind of horizontal right here. All right, so I'm kind of leaving a little bit of the, let me zoom in. I'm leaving it fairly rough and I'm letting the canvas show through a little bit. Since this is sort of that Impressionist style, I'm not wanting it to be too perfect. So kind of short brush strokes, semi-dry brushing it. And then as you get up toward the top of your tree, your branches will narrow. So just make sure that they narrow as they get longer. All right. Seems very quiet in here today, Carolyn. Any other chatter?
No, we went from princesses to Winnie the Pooh.
Winnie the Pooh is the man.
Favorite character is.
Oh, nice.
Winnie, Eeyore, Tigger, Piglet.
If you want to see on my blog, I have a mural that I did of Winnie the Pooh characters. Gosh, a few years ago. It was a long process. I did a whole tree in the corner of the room, and then all of the characters, and it's up on my blog. So I think it's Angela Anderson Art at blogspot.com if you want to check it out. But that was fun. It took forever. It was almost a 2-week mural because the whole room was the top of the roof was clouds, or the top of the ceiling, you know, and the room was clouds, and then I think I'm doing too many branches down here. Oh well. I'm getting to talking and not paying attention to what I'm doing here. Okay, most of this is going to be covered up, so I'm not going to worry too much about it. Just the bottom part of this is going to be showing.
So what'd you say was in that painting?
Oh, I did one, on one wall was the kind of a group photo or group picture of all of the characters from Winnie the Pooh. Then above the child's bed, the nursery or the crib, was his name in like blocks, and Rue was holding balloons and was flying up over the top of the crib. And then that was cute. That was one of my favorites. And then Winnie the Pooh and Eeyore were by the tree with Piglet, and they were looking up at the tree. There was a big honey pot, and or I'm sorry, there was a beehive up in the tree. The honey pots were on the ground, and then Eeyore was, you know, up over in the corner by himself, kind of looking sad. So Eeyore was always kind of one of my favorite characters, and he actually is this color. This is the exact color of Eeyore. So if you want to paint him, this is your go-to color. Okay, so that's enough for the tree. I'm not going to do branches up in here. I'm just going to do some later, maybe just to indicate them showing through. But that's all you need to do for your tree trunk. And I'll probably add some highlights to that, but I'm going to let it set for now and let that brown dry. I'm going to switch over to a Filbert. This is a number 12. This is a Zen Royal Langnickel. So I've never used this one. This is a brand new one, so you'll get to see me try it out for the first time. I also have a little bit smaller Filbert. I don't use Filberts a whole lot, but they are really helpful for this kind of foliage. If you don't want to do a brush, you could use a sponge. And if you want to see how that's done, on my red tree video, I do it mostly all with sponge. So you could do these same colors, but just use a sponge if you go and check that video out. I'm not going to use it today, though. I'm going to use my brush.
The poo painting was on, though, they were on walls, not
Yes, on the wall.
canvas.
No, this was on a big mural. The whole room was covered for a client. Yeah, Tigger was jumping up over the rocking chair, and Rabbit was kind of on a wall by himself also. And then there was Elephant eating a cookie with Mouse on him. I'm not sure what those characters' names were. I don't know if Rue's mom, I don't think she made it into, but I think she was in the group photo that I did. Anyhow, yeah, it was that was a long, and the tree took up the whole corner of the room. There was one corner that was just the huge tree that it was like out on a corner, so the middle of the tree kind of came up off the corner and then spread out along 2 walls. So that was really neat because there was a corner that kind of came into the room just slightly. Okay, so I've taken my Quinacridone Magenta and my Ultramarine Blue, and I've made a purple, still on the magenta side, so a little bit more like a violet color, not quite true purple. And I'm going to put a little bit of this just down in some of my shadow areas where I want the bottom of my tree to be. And I'm just going to touch the tip of my brush and leave some space. This may not work with this brush. We'll just have to see. It's working okay. So the nice thing about the Filbert is because it's rounded, it kind of automatically gives you sort of a leaf shape. If you want to get super technical, you could do actual leaf shapes by twisting it like this. You know, actually this brush is not doing a real good job of that, but this we're just kind of tapping, so I'm not going to worry too much about it. Okay, I'm going to put a few just random ones in up here just to kind of look like some shadows happening, peeking through, and then I'm going to kind of clean out some of that color out of my brush and start picking up some of this light magenta. I'm just going to work some of that quinacridone into it to make sort of a medium value. This will be like our dark, medium, and this is light, and then there'll be an ultra light with the white added to this color too. So we're going to do several layers of color on this. And I'm just trying to keep it loose at this point, not covering all of my spaces up. I want to leave lots of breathing room for my other colors to go in, because otherwise you'll just end up like with big blobs of color. And I do want a little bit of that sky to sort of maybe peep through my tree. So I'll put a little bit more, and I'm just working the dark underneath, and then I'll have the light toward the top. Okay, now I'm going to pick up a little bit more of the magenta and put some of that in also. See, now it's already starting to sort of blend those colors together. It's actually a really fun project, and it's probably not going to take us a whole long time. With this brush is working pretty well here. Okay, so do a little bit of it. Sort of each of these little areas here, I might want a little bit of this darker color just to make it look like there's some shadow in there, caught in the corners. Okay, I'm picking up some more of that medium color, maybe a little bit more on the lighter side. And we'll start working that into our painting. And notice with the lighter colors, I'm not going to go all the way down to the bottom. I'll put a few like ones over the top very lightly, but I'm not going to cover over all these dark areas. That'll help us keep that shadow effect at the bottom. But when I'm working my way toward the top here, I'm going to go next to and over the top of some of my dark areas, and that'll set them back a little bit, but still let them show through. Okay. Now I'm getting the feel for this brush. Sometimes, especially with a new brush, it can take a few tries to kind of get the feel for it because each brush kind of acts a little bit differently, and some will have a little bit more spring to them than others. This one is a little bit soft, I would say. It's not super firm, so, but it's doing okay. I think we're looking all right. It's starting to take shape.
So do you like using the brush technique over the sponge technique? Which one is better?
It depends on the look you're going for. When I'm doing my fine art paintings, I definitely use a brush. I will use a little bit of a sponge, maybe for the background, like I might have started this brush or this painting by sponging on some, but I always would end with the brush. It just, to me, it gives a little bit more of a fine art look. But the sponge is actually way easier, especially if you're a beginner, just learning how to paint. It's really fun. It's great for kids because they can wield it and you don't have to worry about, the paint getting away from you as much with the sponge brush or with the sponge. Oops, my blue got in there. That's all right. Go back in and define some of these shapes now. Was that a question that somebody had, Carolyn? Just about the sponge versus brush?
Oh, I just
Oh, is that your own?
Oh,
Oh, yeah. No, I was, yeah, good question. That is. I think I'm going to, okay, now that I've got my.
Well, because I know, like, a lot of them are talking about the red tree that they did, and I know that was done with a sponge.
Right,
so
right.
I'm just kind of comparing the difference between this one and that one.
Well, and especially if I'm doing a really large area or like a mural, for sure I use a sponge. And the sponge is actually great, I mean, it really does give you a cool look. I like to end, even if I use a sponge, I like to end by just having a few little brush strokes also added to it. Okay, so now I'm going over and softening up my edges by kind of dry brushing some of this medium magenta over the top, and it's kind of giving my edges sort of a fuzzy look. Let me get closer here so you can see what I'm doing. So it looks like there's a lot of paint, but there's actually not a lot at the tip. And so I'm just kind of fuzzing up those edges a little bit. Okay, do it over here a little bit.
Yeah, I remember when you did the red tree also, you were keeping the painting, the tree balanced.
Yes.
As far as leaves and the branches and stuff, so it's like a triangle.
Oh, right.
Balanced.
This one, the cherry blossom tree, is a little bit more random than the oak trees was. So I need to work on my shape. I'm not liking, he looks like he's got a weird afro or something right now. I don't know. Like, I think I want to bring this down a little bit right here in the front.
It's a pink afro.
Yeah, he's got a pink afro. He's a clown right now. He's looking a little clownish. We're just going to balance him out here, bring in some lower branches. The picture that I had on my preview, picture that I had. I didn't do this painting. This is all kind of on the fly here today, so you're sort of seeing my design process more than normal maybe, because I didn't work this out ahead of time. But and I don't have a reference photo that I'm using really. So what was I saying? I don't even remember anymore. Oh, my reference photo is terrible for this project. It doesn't look anything like, but it was the painting that I was going to do last Saturday, and I just changed the colors and the shape of the tree. So it's basically the same ideal. Okay, so that's a little bit better maybe. We're still going to work on the upper area here and add some more lighter colors. So let's do this. Let me switch to this a little bit smaller filbert. If you don't have the smaller filbert, you can use the number 4 round and just flatten it out. I'll show you how it can be flattened. Too much water in it there. You just kind of press it along this side, and you can get a fairly good flat edge. Here, bunny it. So you can see how it's kind of flattened out and spread out. And it's, whoop, I just flung water all over. You know, it can kind of mimic the shape of the filbert. So, in fact, I'll do a few little dab off some of that paint on there. Then foreground. Just keeping my, yeah, that's good. Okay. Just keeping it random. That's the main thing. That'll kill the look of a natural painting real quick, is repeating patterns. My ferrule on this one is loose. Okay, so now I'm going to use the smaller filbert and do some of my lighter colors at the top here. And I'm going straight for that light magenta. Let me show you how I would mix this with the quinacridone. So that plus a little bit of white. Well, a lot of white versus the quinacridone is very, very saturated. So, and then here's the Hansa yellow light. So that gives you a fair approximation of our color here. I might even go for a little bit more yellow, a little bit more white. Okay, so I'll use that color too. I don't want to get too far down. All right, so then I'm going to use white. I may not even use my Unbleached Titanium today. It's kind of one of my colors that I always like to have on my palette, and like I said, since I didn't work out my color scheme ahead of time, sorry. I hope nobody went out and bought it, but actually you'll use it for other things, though. You'll love it. It's a great color. All right, so this is a really super light peach color now, and I'm just going to make some more random shapes at the top of my tree. Work it in. Try to imagine where those branches might be underneath, and sort of do some clusters. And I'm just scumbling my brush now. Here I'm kind of using the tip, and I'm sort of just scratching it at the surface. I'll do I'm just using a variety of techniques. Sometimes I'm just tapping it, and then as the paint kind of gets dry and looser in my brush, then I start to kind of scrub it.
Marissa says she can't see the top.
Is that better? Yeah. Okay. Probably don't need it that far down. Okay, I'm going to put a few down here, but not a lot, just a few little. That's good. We're almost done with this. This is a pretty fast painting. I think I'm going to do some really bright whites. I'll get some really almost straight white color.
I wanted to see the top, so that's
there we go.
To move it down.
There.
To see the trunk.
Okay. Is that better?
It'll take a few seconds.
Okay. Okay, so now I'm using the kind of the corner of my Filbert, and I'm just going to put some little really bright highlights in here and there. All right, I got a blob right here that I don't really want, so I'm just going to take some of that color and sort of tap back over that. So if you do that and you get like an area that's a little too intense in one part, you can kind of bring it back. Also, if you get too much of the blue covered up, you can grab some of that blue and just tap it back into places too. Now, if you decide you want some sky peeking through here and there, you can do that. And I think I'm going to put a little bit more of that purple color, and I'm just going to pick up the blue and mix it with the light magenta color, make kind of a gray blue pink color mix. It's very soft gray blue, and I think I'm going to put some of that in just a couple little places. Now these kind of like accent colors you really want to be careful with, because they can kind of take over a painting real quick. I'm going to go back in with the darker color here. Do some more of the really dark shadows. And maybe get a little bit more of that blue and do, whoop, didn't want to get into that. Do some more of those purpley highlights. There we go. There, ooh, isn't that good? Yeah, that's perfect. So that was Ultramarine Blue and the Quinacridone, and I still had a little bit of that blue with pink in it in my brush, so it kind of made it a little bit softer. All right, that's good. I'm not gonna go overboard with that. All right, so that's almost pretty much it for the tree. I'm gonna finish off the trunk. I'll let it sit here and decide. I might decide I want to do some more on it, but I'm gonna take my damp towel and just brush off my chalk lines now. So I'm going to grab some of the yellow ochre, and here I think I will use that unbleached titanium for this part. And we'll grab just a little bit of that burnt umber too. That'll make a nice kind of soft brown color. Twist my brush through so it comes to a point, and then I'm going to just dry brush it over the top of my tree branches. And if this is too fat for some of your thinner areas, you can switch to a smaller brush. I think that's good. Okay, then I think let's clean that out. I think I'm going to put a few little random branches in my tree.
I think you've hit the top 10 list as far as to do paintings.
Oh, really?
So,
oh.
yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, this one is fun. I love doing these trees. It's okay. So
and you
let's
can tell them where they can upload their paintings. So you can see
yes, the Thankful Art Group is
on Facebook.
So you just the link will be down in the description of this video. So just put a few little random branches peeking through. If you do it kind of in the areas around the blue, it'll look a little bit more natural because that would be where those branches would be coming through. You might be able to see them around the blue sky area. Not a lot, just a few random ones. And then what you can do is, I hope you can see that, I don't know. Yeah, I'll put a few in here, and then what I'll do is go back in with this number 4 and my magenta color here, my light magenta. Might even grab a little bit of that mixed color. And just tap back over some of the transition areas where those branches come and go, just so that they'll look like they're settled. You know, you don't want them to look like they're just a line set out on its own over the top. So that will just help settle them in, make them look like a part of the tree. Okay. Now for mine, when I did my, I think I'm going to do a little bit more at the bottom too, but right now I'm going to spray it with, or not spray it, but speckle it. Let me think, what color would I want to use here? Let's do some of this dark blue. Maybe that light ultramarine, with just a little bit of that. Might even get in some of that purpley color if I can. Yeah, there we go.
Was Angela using a retarder to delay the drying time of her paints?
No, I'm not. No, it's just straight water. And these are, you know, they're pretty much dots, so I don't really have to worry about it too much. The background was just that kind of wet on wet, so I just put it on. If you put the paint on thick enough and you're using these heavy body acrylics, they'll give you time to work with them. They're not going to dry out immediately on you, especially if you spritz down your canvas a little bit so that it's got a little bit of a wet base to start with. Okay, so I'm using, I picked up that purpley, so it's this color, the magenta, the Quinacridone Magenta, the Ultramarine Blue, and this light ultramarine. So basically these two colors plus white is that kind of light violet color. And I'm going to just use this with my toothbrush. Hold it in my hand, hold my thumb over it, and just lightly sprinkle. It's like snow, but with blue. And it just really, I don't know, something when I do these Impressionist style paintings, I love the look of these little dots in it. For some reason, it just really adds to that kind of dreamy quality. So, plus I just liked using the toothbrush. It's fun. And you could even do it with the pink. I might just let that dry and do a little bit with the pink too. I didn't think that through very well because now I can't do my tree trunk. I'm gonna have to get out my hairdryer here real quick. So I think I want to put just a little bit of a shadow area at the bottom of my tree here, just kind of make him look like he's sitting down in some grass or something, and maybe a little shadow underneath him. But for the most part, we're done with this upper part of the tree, and I absolutely love these new colors. This is that Pantone color of the year, and they're so pretty. That actually remind me a lot of, do you remember in the 90s when these two colors were, it was actually kind of a country blue though, so it wasn't this kind of a purpley blue or violet blue color, but it was like that kind of baby blue, country blue and pink were the colors in the early 90s. And we even got, Mark and I, when we had our first house, we were able to pick the countertops and the carpet color, which was a very bad idea because I was like, what, 20 years old maybe. So, and they were the popular colors. So what do? You put, my carpet was country blue and my countertops was baby pink. And of course, in like, 4 years later, I was so tired of those colors. It was the worst decorating idea ever. Oh my gosh. Don't ever let anybody that young pick their own house color. I'm telling you, go neutral. Go neutral. You can always decorate with some pillows if you want some color.
Somebody asked where you got that dryer from.
I got that at Hobby Lobby. It's a, let's see, Paper Studio product, and it actually works really, really well. I like it, and I like it because it's sort of, and you can also use it on a high heat. I'm using it on the low heat with the paints. But I actually haven't used it for embossing. I need to try that sometime too. Okay, so let's do, yeah, I guess I'll use this Filbert here. And I'm going to go back in with this green that we used for our foreground. Ooh, my paint's starting to dry. Spray it. There are sprays that you can get that will help your paints from drying out on your palette, palette sprays, but I haven't had any luck with them. They always clog up on me, and I get so frustrated and I can't get them to work, so I kind of go with water. And if I can remember to spray them often enough before they dry, the trick is to get them before they start to skin up, because the colors, the paint that's exposed will start to dry at the top, and then the undercolor will be, it'll be under there, but you'll have like this little skin on top that you have to kind of break through. So you want to spray it before that happens. That way you don't have to worry. Okay, so now I'm going down here. Let me zoom in just a little bit. Camera always moves. Let me get a little bit more opaque. It's transparent. Can you see that? So it's showing through my tree trunk color, and I don't want it to do that. So I'm going to just pick up just a tiny bit of white, and that will immediately help it to cover those areas. See how that worked? And I'm just going to put a few little, I don't want to get too fussy with this. In fact, I think I did too much over the top there. I just want to soften it up just a little bit. And then I'm going to pick up a little bit of that.
What's in your spritzer? Just water?
Yeah, let me put this down. Yes, just water.
Just water.
Just plain old water. Yep.
Spray bottle.
I don't even know when I started doing that, but it's like the best help ever. And I started painting in Arizona, and it was super dry in that climate. So you definitely need to spray often. Let me get some white. I added a little bit of the Ultramarine Blue to that Phthalo Green to make a little bit more of like a turquoisey green. I really like that. So yeah, that's good. All right, so I'm just going to tap that in. Probably should have done this before we did our tree, but oh well. Here again, didn't do an example, so we're getting the after effects here of my lack of planning. I was actually going to do a cherry blossom branch because I thought that was what Cinnamon was going to do, so I switched to the tree, which was what I was going to do last Saturday. And then I found out that she didn't even really do the branch. she did like the girl on the swing, so I could have done the cherry blossom branch that I had originally planned on doing. So I may still do that if I can get through my Disney Princess uploading and all of that this week, or next week maybe. I'm definitely going to do a just a background with some cherry blossoms, big, I think, or some sort of blossoms, maybe not cherry blossoms, but something. Okay, so now I'm going back over it with the lighter green to soften up all my dots here. I feel like it got too fussy. Pick up some Unbleached Titanium to help it. There we go. And I'm not going to have, like I said, I don't want like a formal foreground here, so I'm going to blend it in to this background along the edges of it just a little bit so that it's looking a little bit less defined. And I don't want to go too far beyond my tree here and my shadow, because my sun is coming straight down. The shadow would just kind of stay underneath. So I'm just trying not to go too far out from straight underneath the tree there. Okay, I'm definitely going to have to put some more dots in now because I should have waited on my little dots.
Speckles.
Yep, my little speckles. We'll do some more. Okay, I think that's looking pretty darn good. I really like it. Yeah. Zoom out. Oh, isn't he pretty? Very fun. Let's do a little bit more dark right there. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so let me find my toothbrush again. See if I can get this purple color again. I'll just put a few more down here. If you point it straight where you want it to go, that's the best way of directing your little splatters. Okay, let's do some pink ones up at the top. I'm just leaving that. There we go. I left that violet in my brush. So we'll do a few little pink ones up in the sky. Yeah. Gotta show up against that blue. All right. That was quick. We did that in an hour. Pretty good. I think we're done. Thank you so much for joining me today. Really appreciate it. Check out the other artists that are doing this Pantone Color of the Year event. If you search with the hashtag Color of the Year Art, you'll find other artists doing the same colors on all kinds of different paintings. I've seen a flamingo. I've seen Cinnamon did her little girl on the swing, and that is up in the iCards if you want to link to that and check her video out. I really appreciate you watching today. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you next time. Bye.
Bye, guys.